On December 8, 1980, the world stopped. John Lennon was shot outside the Dakota in New York City. Within hours, reporters were chasing every possible reaction, including one from his former bandmate, Paul McCartney. What McCartney said that night would haunt him for decades. Now in 2026, Sean Ono Lennon has stepped forward to defend that moment, and perhaps finally put the criticism into perspective. December 8, 1980, the shock that froze a generation. When news broke that John Lennon had been killed at age 40, the world's grief was immediate and overwhelming. Radio stations halted programming. Fans gathered in silence. Vigils formed from New York to London. But in London, McCartney was blindsided by reporters as he left a studio the next day. He was asked how he felt. His response was just 3 words: "It's a drag."
Got there, yeah? Drag, isn't it?
To many, it sounded cold, detached, almost careless. In 1980, the backlash began instantly. The context behind the words. McCartney later explained that he was in shock. He had just learned that his friend, his creative partner, his rival, his brother in music, was gone. He wasn't prepared. He wasn't media trained for tragedy. He was grieving. In interviews years later, McCartney admitted he regretted how the comment came across. He insisted he was devastated, unable to articulate the enormity of the loss. But public memory can be unforgiving. 2026, Sean Ono Lennon speaks. More than 4 decades later, Sean Ono Lennon has publicly defended McCartney's reaction. Sean described McCartney as someone who was unable to process what was going on at that moment. He emphasized that trauma manifests differently for everyone, and that shock can reduce even the most articulate person to a few blunt words. Coming from Lennon's own son, the defense carries emotional weight. It reframes history not as indifference, but as paralysis. The complicated bond between Lennon and McCartney, the partnership between John Lennon and Paul McCartney, shaped modern music. From 1962 through 1970, their songwriting defined an era. But their relationship was never simple. By 1970, the Beatles had fractured. Lawsuits, interviews, and sharp words followed. Yet beneath the rivalry, there was shared history no one else understood. When Lennon died, McCartney wasn't losing just a former bandmate. He was losing the only person who truly knew what Beatlemania felt like from the inside. Grief under a microscope. What made McCartney's reaction so controversial wasn't just the words, it was the expectation. The world wanted poetry, tears, a speech worthy of Lennon's legacy. Instead, they got 3 flat syllables. But grief doesn't follow scripts. Some cry, some collapse, some shut down. Sean Ono Lennon's defense suggests that the public misread shock as indifference. The long shadow of 1980. In the decades since, McCartney has consistently honored Lennon's memory. Concert tributes, interviews, emotional performances of Here Today, the 1982 song he wrote directly to John. Each performance has felt like a private conversation made public. And perhaps that song says more than any press quote ever could. A son's perspective changes the narrative. Sean's intervention in 2026 matters because it closes a circle. For years, critics questioned McCartney's humanity in that moment. Now Lennon's own son offers understanding instead of judgment. It doesn't rewrite history, but it reframes it. Shock is not the absence of love. Sometimes it is proof of how deep the wound goes. Legacy beyond headlines. The murder of John Lennon remains one of the most painful chapters in rock history. The reaction to McCartney's words became a footnote, but a persistent one. Now, 46 years later, that footnote feels softer. Grief is messy. Public tragedy is even messier. And sometimes, 3 words are not a statement, but a man trying to hold himself together.